Hi, I'm Kenya Barris.
I'm Malcolm Gladwell, and we are the hosts of the Unusual Suspects podcast.
Thank you for being here. I have really enjoyed this podcast, but how I want to know more about how this partnership came together and this meeting of the minds of sorts because I think at first glance it feels maybe like a bit of an unusual, duo to
What do
be
they say?
starting a podcast.
Everyone says that, Kenya. What is that? What do they talk? What do they mean?
I don't know. I take it offensively. Like,
I,
why would you
I
talk
think
to
it's a
him?
diss. I think who's being dissed, you or me?
It's me.
That's not
It's
true.
always me.
That's not true. You're the glamorous one. I am. It makes sense that I would want to bask in your reflected glory. You, what does a Hollywood guy need me for?
That's why it is because Malcolm is very humble. I love telling them like it started over Italian food as most good things do. We were at a restaurant in Venice. It actually started with me being a fan of Malcolm, as I think anyone who was a fan of literature and just it's pretty hard to get around him. But I was a fan, and I bumped into Malcolm at a restaurant called Gelina, and he was eating, just trying to have some pasta to himself. And I walked over, and I actually think I was with my wife was here today, who's my ex-wife. It's a crazy story. You'll read about it on Netflix when we do this show. Anyway, I was like, I'm gonna go. She's like, don't. I was like, I'm going to. She's like, okay. And I went over, and he could not have been sweeter. And he was literally
I
reading.
picked that day not to be an asshole. Essentially.
And he was just very sweet.
Kenya had the hookup with Audible, and then came to me and said, "Did I want to be a part of it?" And as I said, I am desperately in search of the reflected glory of Hollywood Titans. So I said yes.
It has a friendship turned into a brotherhood, and I really do actually consider Malcolm a real friend. I think that one of the things that for me, the reason I wanted to do it with him is I knew I wanted to do something that was not like what's out there, because so many of those things are like gotcha moments and like yellow journalism and things like that. And the thing that I always liked about Malcolm's stuff is that there was this part that I found with him, like a why, a curiosity within both of us. And I felt like the fact that you guys say unusual partnership, it doesn't feel unusual to me because Malcolm's the kind of person like on a day-to-day basis that I talk to in the writer's room. But I feel like, fashion-wise, coastal, things like that, there might be things, but I just wanted to do something with someone who would help me in a genre that I did not know that he had mastered, but also in something that we both share with curiosity. And that's what my point.
There's a Venn diagram between our interests, but there's a lot that doesn't overlap, and that was to me one of the big draws was that I was going to talk to people who I know wouldn't normally think of talking to, and same I think is true of Kenya. And so it's a way of kind of vicariously experiencing someone else's interests and discovering your interests as well. I would never have interviewed, Dre. Kenya, that's like top of his list. I don't think he would ever have interviewed Ursula Burns.
Absolutely not. But now I can't stop thinking about her.
Yeah. Now, some guy came up to me the other day and said something I didn't know and said, I have a problem with your Ursula Burns interview. I said, what is it? He said, you guys, if it's at all possible, underplayed just how smart she is. I was like, all right.
She underplays herself.
She underplays herself. Anyway,
that is very. It's interesting because afterward and before, going back and seeing her accomplishments, like could run for president. I'm not even like saying that hyperbolically. She is that woman.
Yeah, but that's the appeal. I would be too intimidated to go, and even if Dre said yes to me, which I doubt he would, I would be too intimidated to go over there.
Dre is Dre. You know what I'm saying? Like you forget, like he was busting through posters saying "fuck the police" 30 years ago, and then he became a self-made billionaire making beats and lived through a Suge Knight, and like I'm saying, like he has become now maybe trying to try out for the next Olympics in archery. You know what I'm saying? You talk about a guy who's made a full circle move, but the same things that those same traumas that we all have, they're there in spades with him. So it was, breaking through that with people sometimes can be challenging.
You and Dre talking about some neighborhood in LA I'd never heard of, and I was like so completely locked out of the conversation. Do you remember that?
I think Trey for me, because I told Malcolm, I was like, I have to admit, this guy's kind of one of my heroes. And I had known him socially in passing. You know what I'm saying? He's always, but like, I think he's a genius. I think he's one of the few modern day producers that, especially with the loss of Quincy Jones, that I can actually point to, like along with Phineas and, Trent Reznor. But Ursula Burns.
That was huge. Wes Moore
Westmore
was
God,
just.
I wish he had ran.
No, you gotta wait. You gotta wait. Let everybody implode. Wes Moore will sail in. He'll come in and you'll be in the cabinet, Ken. You'll be like.
He's one of those dudes that Malcolm and I both looked to each other. We were like you just know when somebody has it. Like he walked in and Barack had it, Clinton had it in spades. Barack had it in a different kind of way. Westmore kind of combines the two of them with the ability of like having it and also having it. He walked in and there was a star around him. And when you heard him talk, there was no pause, no BS, and it was a good one.
I think I love the idea of talking to. I think we should do more athletes.
Because they have such interesting stories, yeah.
They often do. They have perspective. Particularly, they talk about stuff that's not inside there. Or another guy who would be really fun to do would be along the same would be Steve Kerr.
I would love Steve Kerr. I would actually, and if you had asked me this 2 weeks ago, I would not have. But I would like LeBron James. I saw LeBron James have a confrontation with Stephen A. Smith last night in the middle of the game, and it was over his son, and it was so transparent and so vulnerable. And it was a father talking to a man about talking about his son. And it made me look at his whole career differently.
That's what that was about, Bronny.
Yes. And it was a real moment.
Yeah.
It wasn't polite. It wasn't super aggressive, but it was expletives and and he had to control himself, and then he had to go finish playing the game. It was a close game.
Yeah. Stephen A. is I say this as a Jamaican. He's Jamaican.
His
parents are Jamaican. He feels so Jamaican to me.
He feels Jamaican.
He's like, when I see Stephen A., I think like I'm on my grandparents' like the front porch, and all the uncles are there, and it's just Stephen A.
I did not know that, but now that I know that,
his parents are Jamaican.
That is why he is.
That's why he is what he is.
He says whatever the fuck
He's
comes
Jamaican.
to his mind.
He's a Jamaican.
Oh, he'd be an interesting person.
He would be fun. In his case, we would just talk about like his immigrant past.
No, that people don't know that.
Yeah.
That would be a great
fun fact. What it means to be
I'm putting him on the
such
list. We're in Vancouver shooting. I'll be there in a couple of days again. Vince is another hood savant. He's from he's a Long Beach Crip, but like he came in and when he pitched his show, he said, "I want to bring humanity to gangbanging," and I was like, "Say more." It was Louis C.K. meets NWA. It was this guy who has these really sort of outlandish, satirical thoughts on the world, but filtered through the eyes of a guy who grew up in, gangbanging in one of the most, toughest neighborhoods in Los Angeles. And I didn't understand him, and my kids did. And that's usually the sign that there's something there.